Holy smokes everyone, there's just been a new report released on the 1% and what they think is the biggest risk for the markets in 2022. Now there's been lots of speculation and predictions on what the biggest risks are, and I've covered many of them on the channel, but I thought it would be very interesting to see what the most rich and powerful think the biggest risks are, because at the end of the day, they are the ones that are running the market. So everyone, let's not waste any time. Let's get straight into the news, the facts, and the data. Listen to this everyone. Wealthy investors want to own a little less of the everything bubble in 2022. Now this is something I keep hearing, the everything bubble, like the housing bubble, the stock bubble, cryptocurrency bubble, NFT bubble. Some people even think the precious metals are in a bubble. But you want to know the truth of the reason why everything is in a bubble, it's not exactly a stock, housing market, cryptocurrency bubble. Really what we're in is a fiat currency bubble. They're printing too much money and that's driving up the value of assets. But let's get into this report everyone.
Well, Becky, the number one economic worry for millionaires right now is inflation. When asked to rank the biggest threat to the economy, inflation ranked first right next to government dysfunction. That is according to the CNBC Millionaire Survey. That polls investors with $1 million or more in investable assets. Inflation ranking second among threats to their personal wealth, and most say inflation is here to stay rather than temporary.
Well, holy smokes everyone, how quick can things change? Just a few months ago, a lot of the global elites, the Federal Reserve, investors, they were believing everything the Fed was saying, that inflation is only transitory and there's nothing to worry about. But it's now more obvious than ever that it is definitely something to worry about. And the global elites and the 1% know this because they know as soon as interest rates go up, that's going to make asset prices go down. And for the 1%, that's what really hits their income. But inflation affects the poor and middle class a lot more because the majority of their income go on their housing, food, and utility expenses, where with the 1%, most of their income goes to assets.
On the whole, millionaires are relatively optimistic about the economy, markets, and even the Fed's response. A majority say they are very confident or confident in the Federal Reserve's ability to manage inflation.
Did you see that chart, everybody? People are losing faith in the Federal Reserve's credibility. And this is what I've been trying to do, trying to educate people on how the financial system works and how the Federal Reserve never tells the truth. They always try to paint a rosy picture and they're there for the banks and for the markets. They're not there for the average American like they always say.
Remember, inflation means different things for different income groups. For most of America, inflation means rising prices for the things they buy every day. For the wealthy and millionaires, inflation really comes through on the interest rate side. That's what they're worried about, is rising rates and the impact of that on their assets, because otherwise assets do well at a time of inflation, whether you're talking about real estate or the stock market. It's the rising rates that are their biggest concern. And on that front, so far, they're a little more optimistic about a modest increase in rates as opposed to a dramatic jump. And that's why I think they're more optimistic. But it means for them, it's about the rates. For most of America, it's really about the rising prices.
So what they just said there is a real story of why the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. Because the system needs inflation. Inflation erodes away debt, which a lot of the 1% have because they borrow and then they buy assets to avoid paying tax. And instead of selling their assets, they'll just borrow against their assets. And so lower interest rates benefit them. But then that creates higher inflation. And for the poor that don't own many or if any assets, well, all of their income, like I said, goes on housing, food, transportation, and utilities. And inflation absolutely destroys their standard of living and their purchasing power because the poor hold more cash, just their savings in their check accounts, where again, the rich, they'll have a lot of assets that will benefit from inflation. And of course, this benefits Wall Street a lot. But like I keep talking about, inflation is only good for assets until interest rates start rising. Once interest rates start rising, and if inflation doesn't go down, and the Federal Reserve has to hike interest rates more and more, even if there's high inflation, asset prices are going to fall because people are going to get margin calls and people are not going to want to take on debt to buy assets. And remember, this economy relies heavily on debt. So everyone, that was just a quick update with what the wealthy and the 1% think is the biggest risk for the markets. What do you think? Let me know. Now, for all my loyal viewers and subscribers still watching, you're awesome. Thanks for watching. I've posted many other videos today. I'll see you there.